Good evening and welcome to the webinar in our monthly webinar series for parents. My name is Kathy Thompson and I am the founder of Beyond the Classroom. Since 1998, Beyond the Classroom has been a pioneer in the field of in-home tutoring, setting our standards high and helping students achieve great success with our certified teachers. We continue to set ourselves apart from other tutoring organizations because the student is at the center of our business model. We provide not only one-on-one academic support through tutoring, but we also focus on the whole child and those aspects of their lives that affect learning. This is the reason we're hosting monthly free webinar events. This evening, we're going to find out more about getting our students organized and kids organized and tips on how to work with them throughout Diane's expertise in this area. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce tonight's expert, Diane O'Reilly. Diane O'Reilly is an ADHD coach living and working in the GTA. She discovered her own ADHD late in life when her children were diagnosed. When she experienced firsthand how positively life-changing the treatments were for herself and her children, she was driven to pass on what she'd learned to others in the same situation. Since graduating from the ADHD Coach Academy in 2009, she's built a thriving coaching practice helping adults, parents, and families, as well as holding workshops and developing niche programs. She also works with schools helping educate teachers on how to bring out the best in their ADHD students. Now I'm going to turn things over to Diane for this fascinating webinar.
Hi, can you hear me, everybody? Great. Um, it's great to be here. Thanks for the inviting me, Kathy. I'd love to share with you what I've learned over the years. It's been 10 years since I opened my business. And although what I'm going to share with you might seem simple, it has for me and my family and also my clients been life-changing. One of the main things that I have discovered through my research and my education as a ADHD coach is that changing the environment and changing your approach can change everything. So, although I specialize in ADHD, a lot of the skills and things that I've learned are transferable to and relevant to any teen or preteen student. Because what they all have in common, of course, is that they all have an immature prefrontal cortex, which is at the heart of where they need to learn. So tonight, if you're here, I guess you're here because you're either working with students or you have a child yourself who is probably not handling a lot of their organizational demands well, and they need support or help or different tools. And so tonight I'm going to take you through some of those tools. Before I do that, I'm just going to set you up um, uh, to show you, what the problem is, because there are some beliefs, if you like, that are getting in the way of our kids getting what they need. So the first thing I want to take you through is the four main reasons why our students are failing at organizing, what the impact of those repeated failures are, what we can do to turn that around for them, and then we'll get into the practical stuff, the specific tools, the stuff that I use in my own coaching program, the stuff that I've used with my family, and my Organizing 101 program. And I will take you through all that bit by bit. We only have 15 minutes or a little bit over, so there's a lot to pack in. So, stick with me. The good news is we do have a couple of handouts, and one of them will be specifically on the items themselves, the student organizing supplies. So don't feel like you have to take tons of notes. And of course, there will be questions at the end, so you can grab me and find out anything else if it needs clarifying. So let's dive in. Okay, so the reasons students are challenged to organize well, and I believe there are four main reasons. One is that organizational demand is just too high. So let's look at what that is. So we give our students, preteens and teens, a locker, an agenda, duotangs, a backpack, a desk, maybe two if they've got one at home, textbooks, readers, exercise books, loose papers, handouts like field trip forms and rubrics. And then we ask them to plan out their long-term projects while handling short-term homework. So how does that sound? you know, that is a high demand. It completely wasn't like that for me when I was at school, and I still couldn't keep up. So I think that we're actually setting them up to fail just by having all of those things going on for them. The second piece is the tools that they have. They're either inadequate, they don't work, they're not age appropriate, or they actually make things worse. Things like agendas that are the size of textbooks, multiple duotangs, multiple areas to put things in that are not correctly labeled, handouts that are given without hole punches, and no help or guidance for how to manage all this. The third reason is that teenagers, whether they're ADHD or not, are not ready for this. By that I mean in their brain. So the part of the brain that deals with and has to organize is the frontal lobe. And that's the part of the brain that's in charge of skills such as memory, planning, initiation, self-awareness, organizing, motivation, and attention. And it's the last part of the brain to mature. In a typical person, the maturation will happen somewhere between 20 and 25 years old, which is crazy, right? If they're ADHD, it's more like 25 to 30 years old. So there's such a high organizational demand on them at a really crucial time in their life when they need those skills, and very often they're left to do it on their own. And that brings me neatly round to cause number 4, which is that most people, and I was one of them before I started my own research and my education, believe that students can and should be able to handle all those organizing things alone. I believed that if it was being sent home by the school, that it was somehow age appropriate, and I know now that that's just not true. And surely you do too from just that list. I know adults who can't even keep up with that kind of demand. So let's go on to the next slide, which is what is the impact of all this on the student. And this is what I see in my organizing class. This is a big deal. These are big, it's the self-esteem, the low confidence. These are lifelong consequences if they are not dealt with. They affect their learning, they affect their career, they affect their grades. And a lot of the kids that come to me in my program don't believe that the system is failing them. They don't believe their tools are failing them. They believe they are to fail. They are the ones who are failing. So I like to tell my students, about their brain and kind of let them off the hook. I like to tell them that organizing is a skill. It's not just kind of some sort of innate talent that they're supposed to just magically know, and that they're supposed to be shown. So, I can see that their confidence rises just knowing that. So how can we turn this around for them? Well, we need to make it age appropriate, first of all, so that it works for them. So, the system that I've developed is very simple, and some people don't like it. They resist it at first, but and even teachers resist it. but if they try it, they love it. And you wouldn't believe that, some guys can even get excited about some of the stuff about organizing once they see what it does for them. So I do this, I change them to a one binder system. So I tell my students, ditch the desk and the duotangs and lose the locker. Because all of those places just confuse, and there's just too many places to lose things. And if we can change the environment and we change their approach, we set them up to succeed. So I'm going to take you through some of these things in a little bit more detail. And like I said, there is a organizing supply list, which Kathy has a PDF, which you can download, so you don't have to rapidly take notes now. It will be self-explanatory for you. So first of all, the one binder system, to explain it. A lot of people who look at this system tend to think that it's too simple and they want to change a lot of stuff and they want to make it better. And I'm going to say to you, please don't be tempted to replace anything. It's all been very well field researched and specifically chosen. In this case, the one binder system that I like this season is from Walmart. It has, as you can see, very little, there's no pockets. It's not fancy. There's only that one pocket at the front. And that's intentional, because the more pockets a student will have, the more places they will put things and then forget things and then lose things. Then what you have is the pencil case. This is a pencil case meant only for emergency pens and pencils. It's not meant for all their glue and calculators and sparkly pens and highlighters. That would have to be in another pencil case in their backpack. Behind the pencil case is something called the Shove It folder, so named from a student of mine. And this is part of where the magic happens. It's meant to hold all those kind of loose things, like rubrics, handouts, field trip forms, or, a student is just rushing from class to class and they quickly have to take a piece of paper and put it in their binder. What would usually end up in the bottom of their backpack with a banana, now we have a Shove It folder for that. At the very back, you have spare paper and you have a hole punch ruler. The hole punch ruler, of course, to take care of all those handouts that they get, that's overwhelming, that don't even have hole punches in, so that they don't have to do that anymore. So it's kind of like a self-contained little unit. That's everything they need. And then they have it on their back like a turtle. So we'll get to the agenda next. You can see the agenda just in the left-hand pocket. I'll talk about this in a minute. The subject tabs are the specific type that are sturdy, easy to write on. Please don't get your students the ones where you have to put little pieces of paper in, because it will take them all day and they'll never use them. And the next part of this system is the 5-minute daily habit. Because all the gadgetry in the world won't work if you don't actually engage with the stuff. So this is the second part of where the magic, if you like, happens. And this also incorporates the support and guidance that they need. So not only do they have to carry this around all day with them, they don't leave it in their locker, they take it to every class, they also bring it home. And then on coming home, they have to begin this new 5-minute habit. They're going to bring it to somewhere central in the house and they're going to share it, open it with someone like a parent, and they'll look at what's inside, what's in their agenda, what's in their Shove It folder, talk about what's going on, if there's any homework. Do the parents need to action any items in there, like a field trip form? And then the parents will help remind to repack and put it back. On a weekly basis, on a Sunday night, there's another 5-minute habit for looking forward into the week, looking at things like long-term projects. So let's go forward a bit to talk about the agenda. Now, I got a question even before the presentation started about agendas. This is my ratio, not too big, not too small, not too busy. The ones the kids get from school are crazy. They're too thick usually. I usually dump them. I like an 8x11 if you can get it, but it depends on the child. Some children write that, they need that space to spread out into, so they need a bigger one. I don't like the fact that the school ones have busy writing everywhere, daily inspirational quotes, the world's ocean temperatures. It's just too much, it's overwhelming. We need to simplify for this age group and just the dates, that's all we need. It should always have the week at a glance. Somebody asked if there was a specific brand, and there isn't. It seems to change every season. So, but there should always be a month at a glance at the front of each month and a week at a glance, meaning they can see from Monday to Sunday on one page like this example what's available. Then they can put it in that little pocket at the front. Now, not all kids will love an agenda. Some will want to use Google Calendar. I love Google myself, but not all kids are ready for that, and not all teachers are okay with it either, because they'd have to use a smartphone or a tablet in class, and some of them will get distracted. So it really depends. But if you do decide to use an electronic version of a calendar instead of an agenda, then you would have to incorporate looking at that agenda, that calendar, into the 5-minute daily habit. Otherwise, that's where all the stuff gets missed and lost. Okay, so the next part is visual planning wall calendars. Seems like a lot, I know, but stick with me here. The 5-minute daily habit, if your child is just doing daily homework, then you really will not be needing this. But as your child gets older in their teen years and they're juggling maybe 1 or 2 long-term projects, they are definitely going to need a visual wall calendar. So you take the dates that they have in their agenda and you transfer it to a calendar. And why? Because a child will write the due date on the due date, and then they will close their agenda and reopen it on today's date and never see that due date again until the week of. And then it's like, oh my God, I've only got 2 days to do it. So they need to transfer that information onto a calendar where they can see it. And this also allows them to spread it out into little blocks and chunk and milestone their long-term projects. Let's just move on to the next one. A backup filing box. Now this one, the picture of this one is a bit bigger than the ones I usually get. It's a little bit smaller. You've probably seen these at Staples and Walmart. They're an open desktop file box. And the purpose of which really is to, keep all that stuff, archived, which is old. You have a one binder system, so you've got to keep that nice and clean and clear. So in order for it to work, a high school student might collect too many things. If they've got a heavy academic semester, then they're going to need to archive their old work. Each section of this, and it's in your supply list, has 2 file folders. One will have course notes, and one will have tests and exams. And that way, whatever they've got in each subject can be filed in those 2 subjects, and it makes it easy to access for studying later on. So they're not kind of, having to go through all their notes in their binder. So hopefully that's clear. And finally, we have some tips. So, at this age, students are visual rememberers. Their working memory and their short-term memory are not mature yet. So we have an acronym here of OOS, or out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind is a disaster for a teenager. If they can't see it, they won't remember it. That's why we have the 5-minute daily habit, and that's when we have the 5-minute weekly habit. So having an overly neat home can actually negatively impact their success. And I've worked with people whose homes look like a magazine came in and they designed it perfectly, but there's no launch pad, there's no command center, there's no place for a checklist, and the child will really struggle to see things, to remember things, unless they're prompted by their environment. And changing the environment is key to helping them be successful. Doing their homework at school, I talk to the kids a lot about this when I'm doing my program. You know that 25% of your time at school is actually spent waiting. So, and you're kind of in a different gear when you're at school. And then when you come home, it's really hard to initiate and motivate again. Again, that's one of those prefrontal cortex skills that's not mature in them yet. So you can make it easier for them by if they stay late at school, or if they do have to come home, doing their homework in a populated place with accountability built in, like a tutor or a parent or sibling nearby. Lots of parents I know, very well meaning, will create a lovely space privately, off in some, in their bedroom or somewhere private. And actually, they're not always ready for that kind of independence. They'll be too distracted by some of their own, internal thoughts, and there's not enough external um, accountability. Finding out when your child's best energetic time for work is a really great idea. Every child I've worked with is different. Like my best times for hard work, for challenging work, are definitely Monday to Wednesday mornings. And so then you can match, demand to what's going on. Um, Instead of setting them up to fail by giving them homework to do at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, set them up to succeed by doing it on a Saturday morning after they've had a soccer match or something. You, as a parent, will be that guidance and support that they need. And all their activities, dental appointments, should be pre-written in that wall calendar so that they're not planning long-term projects right into a family event. If you do have any problems, making the 5-minute habit work, you can always tether those new habits to old ones. And tethering literally just means tying it to something you already do. So if your child comes home every day and has a snack, then that would be a good time to always get the binder out. Or if on a weekly basis you always eat dinner on a Sunday evening or do something else, that would be a good time to get do the weekly planning session. And last but not least, one of my favorites that saved our family a whole lot of work and was brilliant was just an extra set of textbooks at home. If your child does have an IEP, they can ask the special resources teacher. Uh, you keep a set at home; they'll never forget again. Or you can get them online. You can get them secondhand. So that's it. I think I fit it all in just over 20 minutes. So if you've got any questions for me, um, now would be a good time. You can just type in the box and say, hey, be nice to meet you. It's kind of weird just talking to a screen sometimes. Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, Sasha. Great. I've also included um, another download, which is just my Organizing 101 program. I do that, you know, as private coaching, so it can be customized. That's thanks, Kathy. She just moved that over for everybody to see. So the best age to start, Kathy, you can start right out of the gate. You can start, grade 4 or 5 for the one binder system. I don't think at that age you really need to incorporate the 5-minute daily habit because they're not usually doing a lot unless they are bringing homework home. The wall calendar, that's a good one. Yeah, the it's a separate one really for the kids, but you would have to put all the family. If you have family at Thanksgiving, or if you have birthdays and occasions where you all go somewhere, um, then all those things and their activities should be on there so that they can plan and take all that into consideration. Thank you. Thanks, Kawinda. Yes, Melanie. A lot of my clients have similar fears about trying to get everything in one system, but because you have the backup archiving, it works. And I even had one client. She had 2 backpacks, believe it or not, one for the morning, one for the afternoon, and she really did not want to change to a one binder system. So usually I convince my clients to change by just asking them to experiment for a week and see how they do. And then usually we tweak it a little bit, you know. So some clients might say, I don't like the shove it folder. Can I just use the pocket at the front? Or I don't like the agenda in there. Can I put it in the outside pocket? So, you know, you need to tweak it for their needs, right? So, hey, Sasha. Yeah, I know. I know. They do want the agenda to blend in with the others, but you know, I usually can convince them by showing them my simplified agenda how much easier it would be, and when they see how thinner it is and easy to put in, yeah, that's great feedback. Thanks, Sasha. You know, a lot of teachers actually don't like it because now their kids are handed in loose documents. Sometimes I have to send a note with the child to explain what's going on, so that they realize that, you know, this is really trying to help them be successful. Thanks, Kathy. Well, it looks like that's all for the questions. If you do think of anything else, you can always contact me on my website. You can email me, ask me questions. Yeah, that looks like it's it. Kathy?
Thank you so much, Diane. That was really informative, and I really enjoyed a lot of the techniques that you shared with all of us. So I think that a lot of people will benefit from that. And I see that Sasha would like to email the attachment. Yes, I'll include the attachments in an email to all of the folks who registered for the webinar this evening. So thanks for the reminder on that. So I really appreciate all of you for attending the webinar this evening. The link to the recording will be made available on our website within 7 days. Please join us next month when we talk about managing emotional outbursts. Thank you all for attending and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.